He likes us. It gets to go back to him every time.
Yeah. We're a little short on our side over here. Admiral Zumkov, if you were told to do a block buy, the onus is really on us, that year after year we would have to meet that commitment, whatever it was. Could you do a little mathematical calculation for us, the amount that could be saved by a block buy versus the penalty of us failing to adequately fund at some future year the requirements? I suspect that that equation would work out that it's still cheaper to do a block buy, even though there may be a penalty because of our failure to fund the program.
Yeah, Congressman, I'll be happy to provide that information to you. I'll get my stubby pencil to work, but probably not an answer I could give you, here at this committee hearing. But I know you look out for the best interest of the Coast Guard, and we owe that so we can both go in and make informed decisions on block buys going forward, especially for the OPC.
I know and I believe the Chairman would like to see a block buy requirement in this year's appropriation, and we need to have some sense of the savings that would be achieved by a block buy, let's say, over the next 5 years. Okay, if you would do that, it would be helpful to us as we move that forward. Coast Guard housing, you're short $1.1 billion. Is there some way we can find at least $100 to buy a couple of gallons of paint? It would seem to us in this budget that as we move this appropriation forward, that we find at least some money for the repair of the housing. To go just to zero it out is just frankly not acceptable. I'd like to move to some other questions. Do you mind if I go to Janica? Okay. Mr. Janica, how long are we going to have to fight this food aid program before, I guess, till we get a new administration? Is that a fair?
What's in the 17 budget request, Congressman, is the administration proposal.
Well, we will eventually have a new administration, which I hope has more sense about how to deal with this. If the administration's proposal were to move forward, what would be the effect on the American maritime industry?
Well, I can tell you, Congressman, thank you for the question. We have seen since 2011 a 40% drop in the total amount of food aid cargo and agricultural cargo that's been carried on ocean shipping. And as a result of that, we've seen a decrease since 2012 in combination with the DoD cargoes, which have also dropped about 75% in the same period. We've seen a reduction from 106 ships at the end of 2011, the 1st of January of 2012, to the current number of 77 today. That's a 26% drop in the fleet. So we know that there has been an effect, but it's a combination of not just the amount of food aid cargoes, it's a combination of all the cargoes that are being carried. Predominantly that used to be DoD cargo, roughly 80%, but now with the smaller footprint that we have overseas in basing, but also the number of troops that are stationed overseas, we're seeing much less DoD cargo movement, and as a result, the agricultural actually becomes a larger contribution to the total carriage.
I appreciate the DoD. Focus specifically on the food aid. How many ships have been lost as a result of the change in the food aid, and more importantly, how many ships would be lost if we were to accept the administration's proposal on the food aid?
We estimate 6 to 12 have been lost as a result of some of the changes that have occurred since 2012. I can't give you an exact number, but we do know that the fleet that's had the most challenge is our bulker fleet, especially dry bulk, and many of those ships are being laid up right now. So I think those ships would be at risk, though it's at least 4 to 6.
4 to 6 more ships.
Sir.
And the number of mariners that would be losing their jobs as a result of that?
Each ship carries a combination. It's about 20 to 25 billets, so you're looking at 40 to 50 per vessel total.
And the risk to the United States national security of not having another 6 ships available?
If we lose additional ships, I'm putting it from a mariner availability standpoint today. I put us in the amber range, and I have probably a delta of about 4 ships before I go to the red. So I'm concerned about the number of mariners that are available to fully man the government reserve sealift fleet in a time of either a conflict or in a humanitarian crisis if we fully had to activate that.
So if the food aid program were to go forward, we would lose 4 to 6 more ships, and that puts the nation's security with regard to the availability of ships into the red zone, as into very dangerous.
As part of the administration's proposal, there is a $25 million that is it's intended to compensate for that loss. And so the $24 million would be used for non-MSP ships specifically, and then $1 million for the mariners themselves. So that should offset the loss. That is the administration's proposal.
But the mariners are not working, and therefore they may not be licensed.
That is part of the challenge, yes, Congressman.
So instead of spending $25 million in basically what is a subsidy, a welfare check, we could just maintain the food program as it is today and ship food, keeping the ships busy, keeping the mariners busy, and actually doing something rather than a welfare check?
The idea of the subsidy, or the $24 million, would actually keep those ships in operation. So we do not see that the mariners would be lost, but your analysis is not flawed.
My analysis is not what?
Flawed.
In other words, correct.
Correct.
Thank you. I yield back.